Yeah, it's a communications revolution. People begin to question their own positions. They begin to find their positions. When they say, I know my position, well, everything's gone right by, and they're standing there, and they wonder why it's all zipping by them. And this is very simple, because they're just standing there, and the rest of us are all moving. But we've all communicated now to the point, and we know we're moving. We know we're changing. We understand the word change. Before it was the dirtiest word that the establishment knew. Now that we're becoming the establishment, change is our word, man. Security is our dirty word.
And when you're sitting quietly in your sitting room and you suddenly see the whole works on the screen, well, who wants to? I mean, nobody wants vicarious sex, surely. I mean, either you have your own or you don't have any, I should have thought.
I mean, whereas sex, I don't mind seeing sex in a movie just for its own sake, because I think that's one of the, you know, the more interesting human emotions.
This country was built on guns and violence, folks.
Think it has to stay that way?
Oh, wow, sure. That's a big thing.
You know, I tell you something. There's a lot of people who were violently against Hollywood. A lot of new people in cinema, some are very talented. A lot of amateurs also. I'm not an amateur, I'm professional. I know how to operate this machine. I enjoy it tremendously.
Well, I'll tell you how the movies are made. They're made just like we're doing right here and now. We just sit around and talk and just do whatever comes into our head. No script, no preparation, nothing. We see how we feel when we get up that morning. And we turn on the camera and we just do whatever we feel like doing. And whoever is the most aggressive is the star.
Any lovely came, coming lovely into my life with love, her peaceless peace love. Baby, you have sunshine here, hold I climb above, spirit in our minds, moving in our skulls, we find no fear, my many world is love. But Minnie had to tell, she went and broke the spell, my baby broke to tell. Minnie lovely game, getting lovely Minnie to the dark broad light, her peaceless peace line, tripping tall the high old bright, that's the smoke of dreams, stripping up our minds, blowing out our mind, love's eyes lose light, my mini world is dreams. But Minnie had to tell, she went and broke the spell, my baby broke to tell.
What do you want this time?
$15,000 to finish my film.
Everybody used to know what movies were.
That's all changed now. Oh, they had a lot of things going for them. The one thing they didn't have was freedom. In those days, kids just wanted to write the great American novel.
Other girls my age have babies already.
Yes, but remember, you're from the East. And it's 14 there. So you gotta wait a year.
When in Rome. Our new cowboy movie is the new concept of a Western. No violence, just sex. Instead of kissing the horse, he kisses the girl. But he runs off with another cowboy. We're trying to be modern. What with the population explosion and all, you never know what turn society is going to take next. And we had a lot of trouble in Tucson. As you may have heard, the sheriff tried to run us out of town.
Unsociable, huh?
No, we just want to entertain people and make comedies and make everybody laugh.
Make everybody laugh?
Yeah, keep people happy and laughing and gay and cheerful and excited and turned on. Right, Andy? We're making all outdoor movies from now on. The next one is going to be called San Diego Surf or Surf for Tomorrow.
And where are you going to make that one?
In San Diego. And it's going to be based on the story of Rain. It was all Andy's idea. When he saw my 1930 chiffon dress, Sadie Thompson style, he said, we'll do Rain. And we're making the story of Princess Lee Radziwill's television debut to be called Meet Me in Minneapolis.
It's all quite different now. I don't know that it's any better, because it was, we had to work. We had discipline, very strong discipline in those days. I never wanted to repeat myself. It was when I found I was repeating myself in the theater about 2 years ago that I just shut the whole thing off. I wanted to do some really creative work. And that's when the Whispers came along, and that's exactly what I wanted, something I could really put my heart and soul in creatively, you see, and that was lovely.
Dame Edith, do you think movies really affect the way the world runs?
But you see, when you say the world is being run, we're all part of it, aren't we? We're all running it a bit. I mean, everybody's running it in their own life. I mean, you can either do or not do in your own life. You needn't conform.
The old people are dying slowly, otherwise the representatives of the Puritanism and religion and other organisms which were restricting what's healthy and beautiful in life somehow are more and more seldom. The young people are quite different. They demand different things. Make it new, they say. Make it different.
Everything's a trip, you know. I mean, this is just a planet, and we're in a solar system, and there's the moon, and look how beautiful the moon is, man. Whew. I took that little drug, did my head in rightly, and put me through a death. A really strong sequence where I came back, these many different things, and I saw all the different personalities of me just come by. And I was able to choose, because I knew by that time which was right and which was wrong of me, you know. And I said, that's it. And I came back, and I just became my own mother and my own father then. I gave birth to myself, and it gave me a great sense of freedom. When the printed word, like McLuhan says, man, you know, the printed word's obsolete. Well, when it was not obsolete, when it was the way of getting the word out, everybody had to read like mad. And that takes a long time, 20, 40 years to get the word. The word's already changed by that time. Now we've got a tube, man. You turn it on, and after they've sold you some beer, and you've washed under your arms with some soap, and you see some old Gary Cooper westerns, and those dudes doing their thing, you catch the news, see? And you see what's going on in Moscow, and you see what's going on in Paris, and you catch on what's happening in New York. There could be no choice, man. Eventually you say, wait a minute, they're doing my thing. Why aren't I doing it?
The whole trick and the secret is of creating a film by literally saying you're doing it. I mean, it's not a matter of asking someone to let you make a movie. It's to announce that you're making it. I mean, to literally, on the Rain people, Warner Brothers didn't want me to make them. I mean, they couldn't care less about this movie. I merely went into them one day and I said, it's Friday, Tuesday, we're flying to New York and we're going to shoot some film for my new movie. They said, what's it about? What's the story? You know, we got to approve it. I said, well, if you don't want to make it, I'll pay for it myself, you know? And I walked out. Now, they didn't know what to do because they didn't, maybe it was a good thing, you know? But the fact was, on Tuesday, we were there shooting. And they said, well, what's he doing, you know? The idea is you gotta really, if you've gotta really want to do something, and then nothing can stop you, I believe.
Would you tell something about your young assistant, George Lucas?
Oh, you're not my assistant, actually.
Could you tell us about your young...
Associate.
Associate, okay.
George won an award to come to Warner Brothers and observe a film being made there, and he came, we were making Finian's Rainbow, and one day I was working on the show, and I kept seeing the skinny kid with a beard, and he was always looking. I went up to him and I said, well, you know, I said, who's that? And he said, well, he's observing you.
I think the student films are the only real hope. I think they're slowly beginning to realize that students know what they're doing. You know, that they're not just a bunch of silly kids out there, you know, playing around. They're serious and they're dedicated and they're trained in all the aspects of film, not just one area. I mean, the student out of film school can not only run a camera, run a sound unit, produce and direct and write, but he can also act in many cases.
In the industry, they say that the schools aren't turning out students with commercially sound training. At student films, there's still a lot of adolescent posturing.
You got to remember that students are people. It's like, you know, I can go and say, as a student, I can say, well, you know, Hollywood's turning out some pretty bad stuff, you know. Look at some of these films they're making. Now, we don't group Hollywood as a group and say they're all bad, they're all immature, they're all, you know, exploitation. But they group us as a group. They say all students are this. And we're individuals, we're all different. You know, I would like to see the students be able to work in the establishment and hope that someday they could work in the establishment and change the establishment rather than trying to branch off into something else.
Andy, what if somebody laid like $2 million on you to make one film?
He spent $2,000 so they'd keep the rest.
He'd build another church for his mother. Well, Bike Boy was a bike boy, and he said that that he was in mourning when we chose him as a star because he got married, and he and his wife went on a honeymoon in the Grand Canyon on their respective bikes, and her bike flipped, and he went back to find her lying there dead with a kickstand piercing her heart, and he said, now I can't go back to L.A. Her parents are so mad at me. The wedding cost $4,000 and she only lived a week.
Why did you get a chance to produce a film, Peter?
The money has changed. Very basically, the people who, in the first breath, would say they would not run Wild Angels as a film or something like that, they'll run it because the kids are going to see it. Now, that's made that change possible. That's the basic change. That means that I'm able, as Peter Fonda, to walk into somebody's office, sit down, and say, here's a story I've got in my head. And the guy says, how much do you want? Once you get them, you can say anything you want to see if you play it right. We're giving them all they want. We're giving them violence to an extent, but no more. We don't hide the violence. We don't point fingers at it. We don't make it a violent film. We take the violence of society. Captain America, the character I play, the idea of giving this guy my colors. It's the American flag. That's my gang. I'm the American. I'm Gary Cooper.
He's going to assassinate the president next month. So he doesn't have time to be funny.
Bonnie and Clyde that made him do it?
He's blowing up the 9th precinct. He's, going to kill Fink.
Hey, I'm not a violent person, man. I'm very non-violent. So I must be a hero for some other reason.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. And you don't do that because you're really like on a level, you know. You're not talking down or talking up to us.
Yeah, that's what's happening. That's the new screen hero, you know. He's really got himself together, you know.
Yeah.
He's got something that does, you know, that's always there, man. I mean.
It's not like about, I don't know, 30 or 40 years ago.
Hey, well, that's the whole point of life, man. Hey, you know, it might sound corny, man, but hey, I think my life needs a work of art. Hey, that's what I work on my life every day. I go through changes every day, man. You remember? Hey, Ray? Yeah. Hey, that's. Ew,
Who knows what a movie star is anymore? They used to be larger than life. Gable, Cooper, Flynn.
And how much can you do, and how much can you do really well? And after that, you're going to start to, you're going to be less impressive, I guess, especially when you're operating on the screen and it's so big there, and people, you know, you can do so much, and then you're going to run dry. I never knew what kind of actor I was, really. I was always told that I was a juvenile delinquent or something whenever I get a part in New York. And I started to do character, kind of. I didn't really want to do The Graduate. It sounds funny to say that. And I think if Nicholas wasn't directing it, I probably wouldn't have done it. And I read it, and I responded to the humor in the book, but I felt I was wrong for it. I still think I was wrong for it. I mean, I was miscast for it. And if he hadn't been directing it, it wouldn't have been worth my while to take the chance to be in a big movie like that and bomb out.
Whether Broadway or Hollywood, stars don't mean the same. They just don't have the size. Now there's the anti-hero. They're stars who don't live like stars, or look like stars, or even think like stars used to.
We're always looking for new stars. We think people go to see movies because of the stars that are in them.
Somebody, I don't know who, or a group of people, have started cutting everything down to size. And I don't approve of that at all, because there are lots and lots of young people
Don't you think
who still have a great love of music and literature and travel and conversation and those things. And that's what civilization is, isn't it?
Rosemary's Baby is a very realistic surf. Extremely. Could happen any day now in New York. Young couple moving into their apartment, and then some weird thing starts to happen. You know, things which are very difficult to explain because you don't know what's really going on, but you know that something is going on.
What have you done to it? What have you done to its eyes?
And they say this is the cinema, you know. There's plenty of violence in the cinema. What does it mean? The cinema only reflects the life. And if you have violence in life, if the artists, they are just writing or speaking or singing about it, you know. But there were censorships that would say, no, you shouldn't talk about it because this is bad, because you shouldn't kill. I mean, you shouldn't kill. But you don't kill somebody on the film. The blood is fake and the bullet is fake. You kill them on the street. You see, I think that the whole attitude towards violence in America was very harmful for the audience. I mean, they created a sterilized brutality, like sterilized sex, you know. It takes a long time for an American boy, at least it did take a long time, let's say still 10 or 20 years ago, to discover, you know, that not...
It's queer because, you see, it's the standards have been lowered.
It takes a long time to discover that when you shoot somebody with a gun, somebody standing 6 feet away from you, it looks a little bit different in live than it does in the film.
He was influenced by Bonnie and Clyde.
Nowadays, they seem to be producing a lot of thugs.
He has 350 Molotov cocktails and in his big suitcase made out of old Gypsy Rose and Muscatel bottles.
It isn't any longer peculiar to steal. You don't steal it. You knock it up or you fiddle it or something. I don't know.
I think that if you show the real violence on the screen, that you should show with the real realism how it looks when you kill somebody with a knife on a razor blade.
He would have done it anyhow. Like, he called me up and he said, wow, you know, be Bonnie and Clyde with me.
I don't think it inspires violence. I really don't think so.
Anyway, I'm not going to moralize. That's not what I'm here for.
Did you like Bonnie and Clyde?
Yeah. All that violence and murder. It was such a change. Sex gets so boring.
Well, are you talking about lovemaking? Well, I'm saying I don't particularly want to see in my sitting room when, you know, we're all quiet, perhaps having a cup of tea, two people know the way they make love. They just rush at one another and take a gulp of one another. I think it's terrible. So ugly. Ugly.
We don't believe in sex. Sex is a substitute for love. We only believe in love. Love and health.
Why? Out in public. It's a private thing.
Besides, I'm married now to an American girl.
Oh, yes. You have to have stability at home, and then you can have chaos in the streets.
We've got to stop these motorcycle movies and these violent movies and these movies of sex and perversion and drugs.
That's all come in. I don't know where it's come from, and I don't much care for it.
I don't think there's anything you can't put in a film.
It's just very bad taste.
And I think you will have the language that is the language people use and the acts that people do on film. And I just hope it's not abused.
But some would misuse anything, wouldn't they, you know, for the sake of a few dollars.
I like films that have humanity, too, because I think when it all comes down to it, that's all we really have, is a sense of humanity in this world. And so that film should labor to express that.
Young man, the trouble with you is you're going to this boys' school. What you need is a little more sex. Once a night, and you'll get your mind off it.
Well, now, don't you think you ought to take me away?
Nothing's changed in sex. It has changed, you know, in the within the censorship, you know. I mean, we slowly we're getting out of the Middle Age.
The new cinema? Well, it's really the new filmmakers. It's as new as the times. It's fresh as young talent. But after all, perhaps as old as any man who ever stopped to really look at himself.
And I suppose in a sense I'm a competition then with my father, because I like to be the guy next door. Only these days the guy next door is far from being stoic. And he smokes pot. He understands that he hates his mother and his father. He doesn't want to go to war. Doesn't believe the politicians, doesn't believe the clergy, doesn't believe his teachers. So he has to reject all those things that were set up as being the guiding lights for him. I find myself somewhat in the same position. That's why I say, like, I feel like I'm the guy next door. Because when I sit inside my business, there's no place for me. Inside the walls of a motion picture studio, their idea of the guy next door is still my father, but 40 years younger or 20 years younger. Times they are a-changing, as some famous poet said. You got to reflect the change of times. Outside the walls, I have a chance to be myself. They don't give you a chance to do that. 25 executives tell you what to do. The director is not the director of the film. It's the studio that's the director of the film. Therefore, you lose the concepts. Therefore, you lose performances. Therefore, you lose honesty. Outside, we've got a freedom. Some people misuse the freedom. Some people take it as mean that they can get away with everything. But other people really take advantage of it. I want to be one of those people that takes advantage of it. I'd be a fool if I didn't.
Hey, lovely walk, walking lovely baby down the aisle there wide. Her peaceless peace wide. We had something out of sight. My love wasn't heard. Pulling shades of sin, closing blinds of mine, bought someone right. My mini world will minute had to